So we have learned that the Chargers head football coach, Jim Harbaugh, has made a proposal. He's made an offer to Colin Kaepernick. Is Colin Kaepernick going to join the Chargers as a player? No. Jim Harbaugh has offered Colin Kaepernick, who hasn't played in the NFL in 7 years, a job as a coach. Say what? Yeah. Recent interview. Harbaugh, quote, "We talked a little bit about it. He's considering it," Harbaugh said of the interesting Colin Kaepernick. He was out of the country, which he was. He was interviewed by Sky News in Paris this week. And Harbaugh also said that Kaepernick told him he was going to get back to him. They have not reconnected since that point. He was singing the praises of his former quarterback. Harbaugh said he'd be a tremendous coach. Says, again, he's waiting to hear back. All right, so the question, as we discussed, Jim Harbaugh announcing that Colin Kaepernick is considering, he has an offer, a standing offer to join the Chargers organization as a coach. Is there more to this story? So I've got confessional, Powerball, and flight plan. And we're going to combine all of these things together, and we are going to avoid goose pimples. That's what we're going to avoid. So, number one. Yes, number one. Now, this is a Tupperware story. That's why I'm going to put it as a Tupperware story. Let me tell you why. Meaning it's like the leftover spaghetti or the leftover Chinese food in the back of your refrigerator because Jim Harbaugh reached out to Colin Kaepernick back in January or February about potentially becoming a coach. And he is still waiting for an answer. Now, maybe you are challenged by the calendar, but today is the 15th day of August as we are doing the show today. So it's the 15th day of August. This offer came back in like February, let's say, and he's still waiting. So what does that tell us? Dead giveaway. It's a dead giveaway. Colin Kaepernick has ghosted Jim Harbaugh. He has. Since Harbaugh offered Kaepernick a job, these are from Harbaugh's own words. Training camp has started. Off-season workouts obviously have come and gone. Training camp started. Exhibition games have been played. The NFL season, while it gets started in a few weeks, the real season, for all intents and purposes, it is underway right now. Jobs have already been filled. And Kaepernick just did an interview with Sky Sports where he said he wants to still play. Doesn't that tell you he's not taking this job? But for me, the dynamic between Harbaugh and Kaepernick is the story here. That's the story. That's the there, if you will, as we psychoanalyze. And when you become a gas bag, you have to be a bit of a shrink. So my theory, and I want to pitch this to you. I'm going to make my elevator pitch. It's an original take. I want to see if you buy it, okay? Here's my theory. And I had this as I was walking into the studio to do the show. Jim Harbaugh, this is a confessional. He feels guilt. Now, for what, you ask? Jim Harbaugh feels somewhat responsible for Colin Kaepernick's NFL career going bonkers. Because when Jim Harbaugh coached him in San Francisco, Colin Kaepernick had a winning record. He played. He started a Super Bowl, lost it against the Ravens. It was only after Jim Harbaugh went to loggerheads with the Niner front office. As I remember it, Harbaugh wanted more power. The Niners didn't want to give him more power. They were fighting, and so he left after like a 500 season. He went off to Michigan, back to save Ann Arbor, and then sucked for a few years before he put that program back on the map. But at that point, that was the point of demarcation where Kaepernick crossed the Rubicon. And instead of having another 5 or 6 years in the NFL, he underwent a quantum leap. When Jim Harbaugh left, he couldn't play anymore. He sucked. He was a terrible quarterback. The last 3 years, the Niners were 11-24 in games started by Kaepernick. He got benched in favor of Blaine Gabbert, for God's sakes. what a bloody mess that was. He also became radicalized. He was no longer just a quarterback playing in the NFL. He was the I hate America, I can't stand the national anthem, I hate all cops. It was a race baiter. He became all of that. It was after Jim Harbaugh left. So in the multiverse, there is a dimension where none of that happens, and Kaepernick continues on in the NFL, and who knows if we would have been good or not, but he would have had several more years. Maybe he would still be in the NFL as a player. But the thing that changed was Harbaugh left. And Jim Harbaugh, very religious man, a little Father Flanagan situation here as he's doing reputation rehab for Kaepernick, trying to clean up the mess, right? Remember, he made him an honorary captain for the Wolverines. I believe it was last year for the spring game for Michigan. And now he's offering him another job, which is pretty wild when you think about Kaepernick's relationship with the NFL. He sued the NFL, took an out-of-court settlement. He also, on a Netflix documentary a little while back, compared the NFL to a slave auction. And yet he just got offered a job, well, just a few months ago from Jim Harbaugh. Pretty crazy. What would Kaepernick have to do to not get offered a job in the NFL? All right, now, page 2. We're going to move away from that. And if, by the way, if you agree with me or not, I would like to know your thoughts on it. That's my theory. I'm psychoanalyzing Jim Harbaugh and Kaepernick. But we're going to move on. We got to trade. We got to trade. Unfortunately, it's a defensive trade. Those aren't as sexy. But the New England Patriots have said bye-bye to edge rusher Matthew Judon as he is going to the Dirty South. He's going to the Atlanta Falcons, the Dirty Birds. He's below the Mason-Dixon line. The trade, Judon, in exchange for a third-round draft pick. Question, can you put a grade on the trade of Matthew Judon from the Pats to the Falcons? So Maller report card, which is never wrong. It's the report card of record. Atlanta gets a B-. New England, a C-. And they barely got a C-. And here's why. Matthew Judon is entering the final year of his contract. He has demanded more money. He will be 32 early on here at the start of the regular season. And if you look at the computer model, though, I'm giving Atlanta a B-. I'm going to assume that they're going to give him a little more money, sweeten the contract, so he'll be a happy camper. And he does improve the Dirty Birds pass rush. So there is that. And for the Patriots, they get a C-. I was going to give him a D+. I gave him a C- because they got rid of a malcontent who was beefing with Gerard Mayo, who's appears to be way in over his head as coach of the Patriots. But this is one less problem, right? He's got 99 problems, but this ain't one. And so get rid of the player who's not happy, and Judon's gone, and someone who will be washed up by the time the Patriots are in position to have good teams again. So you get rid of him. And what you get is a scratcher ticket, but you get a lottery ticket, but it's a scratcher, so the top prize is like $500. It's not a Powerball ticket where you could win $500 million. It's $500. All right, now the final point is this. How does the Matthew Judon trade affect Hasson Reddick, who's unhappy with the Jets? So this is a preview, as they say when you go to the movies, a preview of coming attractions. And while it's cute that Joe Douglas, the big cheese there, the big ragu with the Jets, said that franchise will not be trading Hasson Reddick. Last I checked, and maybe I'm wrong on this, Hasson Reddick is not a Hall of Famer. He's not a great. He's good. He's not great. He's not a generational player. Everyone can be traded. Everyone. Joe Montana was traded. Tom Brady was not traded, but he left the Patriots, played for another team. And so the idea that the Jets would never, ever trade Hasson Reddick is farcical. So it's in play, meaning that the Matthew Judon trade, if you look at the template, right, the Jets now have the flight plan, and they can send it into the FAA on what they can expect on this flight in return for Hasson Reddick, who is a few years younger than Matthew Judon. So Gang Green could get a third-round pick and a conditional late-round pick for the sack master, which is basically what the Jets gave up to the Philadelphia football team to get the player from the Eagles. I think it was a conditional third-round pick, which it's fair to say will not be a third-round pick because Hasson Reddick has decided to not show up to work because he wants more money. Don't we all want more money?